On a wet Wednesday in Lagos, Kamsi sent her mother a photo of a hospital wristband and typed 3 words: "At the clinic." By nightfall, the two of them would be standing on opposite sides of a truth so sharp it could cut a family in two. What really happened in those hours between the text and the thunder? And why did a simple wristband feel heavier than a lie? Yaba, Lagos. Rain polishing the streets, Molowe horns moaning in the distance, suya smoke curling up like prayers that learned to dance. Kamsi was 26, with a laugh that used to arrive before she did. A product designer by day, a sketchbook dreamer by night. She lived in a small studio flat where the light from her laptop left blue squares on the wall. Her mother, Ngozi, was a senior nurse at the teaching hospital, shift queen, ward general, the last shoulder for too many strangers and too few of her own. Once, their home in Surulere was a place of noise, spoons clinking in pots, gospel from the radio, her mother's voice rising and falling like a lullaby that refused to retire. They were a team after Kamsi's father died, 2 girls learning to be a whole house. But then the years hardened. Duty multiplied. Messages slipped to seen. Calls turned to later. Later learned to be a door that always closed. The stakes? Simple and large. Kamsi wanted to be seen, not by followers or clients, but by the one person whose eyes could steady her. And Ngozi wanted to keep saving lives and still be the mother who once drew a star beside every little win. They were both drowning in the good intention of tomorrow. It started small, as these things do. "Mom, are you free for lunch on Sunday?" Ward B is short staff. Rain check knee. "Can I show you my new app screens?" "Send it on WhatsApp. I'll look before bed." "Can you just sit with me? No phone, 5 minutes." "My alarm is in 2 hours. Biko, let me close my eyes for half a second." The gap stretched quietly. Not a fight, not a break. Just an absence hovering in doorways, standing where a hug should be. Kamsi tried to be reasonable. People in scrubs are tired. Lagos grinds bones. She told herself to be grateful. She told herself to grow up. She told herself a lot of things, all of which sounded like shut up in nicer clothes. Then came the night the ceiling dripped and the street turned to a river. She lit a candle and sketched scenes from memory. Her mother plaiting her hair on a stool, powdered milk whisking into hot water, laughter poured into bowls like soup. Tears ran before she could explain them. She said, "I'm not a child, but I'm still her child." Deji, her neighbor, knocked to charge his phone. He found her with the sketchbook splayed open like a wound. "You okay?" Define okay. He saw the wristband on the table, left over from last year's food poisoning. "What's that?" "Old souvenir," she said, and pushed it away like it asked a question she wasn't ready to answer. Later, when the rain slowed, a thought came the way mosquitoes come. Small, whining, refusing to die. If you say you're not fine, she will just say, "Sorry." But if you say you're at the clinic, the phone felt heavier than it should. She took the photo. She typed slowly, as if each letter was a promise and a betrayal at the same time. "At the clinic." She pressed send. The tick turned blue. 15 minutes later, thunder cracked like a door being kicked open. Ngozi burst in, still in scrubs, mask hanging on one ear, hairnet tilted, eyes wild. "Where? What happened? Who attended to you?" Kamsi stood, surprised by the speed of love on legs. For a second, she almost confessed. For a second, it was almost brave enough. She said, I felt funny. I panicked." Ngozi's hands were on her cheeks, then her forehead, then her wrist. The nurse in her scanned, measured, counted. The mother in her sobbed quietly with relief. "We are going to the hospital," she decided. No, it's easing. Maybe just sit, please. Sit with me. They sat. The rain softened. They watched a candle eat its own body. Ngozi told Ward stories with names shaved off, like puzzles without faces. Kamsi nodded and laughed in the right places and stole looks at the woman she missed even while she was there. 2 hours passed. Ngozi's phone kept shaking with calls she refused to take. For today, let them manage. I manage everyone. Today, I will manage you. And something unclenched in Kamsi's chest, a fist opening. It worked, she thought, and felt sick at the victory. When Ngozi finally left near midnight, she stood at the door and kissed her daughter's forehead like a prayer pinched between 2 fingers. Call me if anything changes. I will. As soon as the door clicked, a different silence crept in. The candle had burned to a lake of wax. The wristband lay between them on the table, like an oath that couldn't be taken back. In the morning, Ngozi walked into the nurse station with eyes that heard thunder. She couldn't focus. Every monitor beep reminded her of last night. She dialed a number.
Dr. Fatai, please check if any Kamsi Ngozi presented in the night. She waited, throat tight. No record, he said. Are you sure she came through the clinic? Ngozi's heart did a small, ugly thing in her chest. Maybe she went private. Let me ask around. Don't, she said quickly and ended the call. She went outside. Rain drew patterns on the hospital ramp. She held the rail and breathed. No record. She called again, this time to herself. She told you she panicked. She asked you to sit. She needed you. Isn't that the clinic? She called Kamsi at lunch. How are you now? Better, came the bright voice. It was nothing. Nothing, Ngozi asked, words too calm to be safe. You said you were at the clinic? I was worried. You were where? Silence. Ngozi pressed the phone to her ear so hard the screen squeaked. Were you in any clinic at all? Kamsi swallowed. She could hear Ward chatter behind her mother, the place that always named her mother first. I wanted you to come, she said. There, the smallest truth, a drop before the storm. Ngozi did not speak, not for 5 seconds, not for 10. You wanted me to come, she repeated, not a question. So you used sickness to call me like a bell. The line trembled between them. Mummy, but the call ended. That evening, Kamsi boiled water she didn't need and washed plates that were already clean. The door stayed shut. The wristband lay by the kettle like a dare. Ngozi arrived late, key twisting slow, face flat, the mask that has watched too many people cross rivers they did not choose to enter. Sit, she said. Kamsi sat. Ngozi dropped her bag, removed her shoes, and placed her scrubs with careful hands. People like her only threw things when the break inside had become an earthquake. Why? She asked, finally. Because talking wasn't getting me anywhere, Kamsi said, voice small. I reply to emergencies. I made one. Ngozi laughed, one dry bark that didn't belong to laughter. You think my love is just an ambulance? No. You think I can blow a whistle and I will run, and that is all I'm good for? No, Mommy, Do you know what I saw last night? My child disappeared into a place with too much light and not enough names. Do you know how many times I have picked up bodies that used to laugh? I know you save people, Kamsi said, tears angry now. I know it because you are not here to sit and watch me breathe. The house wobbled on the edge of a cliff called What We Never Said. You want me to be here, Ngozi said low, and I want you to understand why sometimes I cannot be. I am not God. I have only 2 hands. I asked for one, Kamsi whispered. Just one hand on my back while you tell me my day. Ngozi looked around the small room like it had turned to a witness. She saw the wristband by the kettle. She walked to it and picked it up. This is from last year, she said. You kept it. Kamsi nodded. Did you plan this? No, she said, but the truth was complicated. The thought had sat in a corner for weeks, picking its teeth, waiting for rain. Ngozi placed the band in her palm as if it could burn her and still did not drop it. "You scored a response," she said. "Is that what you wanted?" "I wanted you," Kamsi said. "And you thought a lie could carry the weight of that want?" They stood there with the water boiling and the rain remembering how to fall. If a neighbor had passed by the window, they would have seen two women who looked like reflections of each other. Same stubborn chin, same tired light in the eyes, pretending they were not both bleeding from the same wound. Ngozi put the band down. "I need air," she said and reached for the door. Kamsi moved faster than her shame. "Don't go," she said and blocked the way. "Shout at me, call me foolish, just don't go." Ngozi looked at her child the way mothers sometimes looked at newborns, surprised at their own softness, ashamed of their own hardness. "I am afraid of what I will say," she admitted, "and I am afraid of what I will not say." She slipped past and left. The door closed with a sound like the end of a day that should have been kinder. Morning arrived with a phone call that made Kamsi run. "Are you Kamsi? Your mother fainted during shift. She is stable now. Come." The world narrowed to one road and one heartbeat. Traffic parted like it had manners for once. She didn't feel her feet in the corridor. Ward B smelled like bleach and prayer. Ngozi lay on a bed behind a curtain, eyes closed, IV drip counting the seconds. Her lips moved against air. Kamsi took her hand and whispered the apology that had been rehearsing all night without a stage. "I did this," she said to the ceiling, to God, to anybody renting space in the air. A nurse adjusted the line. "Stress plus no sleep," she said softly. "Strong people forget they are not machines." "I made it worse," Kamsi said. "You made her feel needed by the only language she can't ignore. That is both the problem and the map." When Ngozi woke, her eyes found Kamsi and filled it without permission. "Are you hurt?" she asked first, reflex slamming the same old key. Kamsi shook her head hard. "I am hurt," she said, "and I am the one who hurt you." Ngozi's mouth trembled. "I am the absence," she said, "and I am the reason you learned to shout." They cried, not the tidy kind, the kind that splashes and embarrasses and cleans. In that small rectangle of a hospital, a simple thing happened. So simple stories rarely mention it. Two people said, "I am sorry," without using it as a weapon. Kamsi told the truth first. Not the clinic, not the wristband, the ache, the sketchbooks, the nights where she swallowed words because timing can be cruel. Ngozi told her truth too. The mortal weight of being the strong one, the funerals that stuck under her tongue, the fear that if she sits, something somewhere will fall. "I thought being useful was my way of loving you," she said. "I thought being dramatic was my way of reaching you. That's a bad map." Ngozi nodded. "Let's draw a new one, ne?" Maps are not grand speeches. Maps are lines you agree to follow. They drew theirs on the back of a hospital meal card. 10-minute check-ins after shifts. No phones, eyes only. Sunday oyambo rice. No ward, no work, even if Lagos is on fire. Voice notes on busy days. One truth you felt, one thing you need. A word for emergencies that mean "I need you," but are not medical lies. They chose Palmwine. If a message said Palmwine, Ngozi knew not a patient to save, a daughter to sit with. One therapy session together each month. They would learn new sentences, new permissions. When Ngozi left the ward 2 days later, the city looked less like a mouth with too many teeth. Back home, she sat on the same stool where she once plaited her child's hair. "Bring your sketchbook," she said, and meant it. Kamsi laid out drawings like a small museum. The rain, the wristband, two girls making a home out of a kitchen. Ngozi took her daughter's face in her hands and said, "I see you." Kamsi closed her eyes and let those 3 words do what medicine often tries to do: restore what broke without leaving a scar.
Weeks passed. The old habits knocked, but the new map answered the door. On a Friday, Ngozi's phone screamed with ward calls. She looked at Palmwine blinking on her screen. She took off her badge, told the junior nurse to hold the fort, and walked out.
At home, she found Kamsi on the floor, overwhelmed by a client email that dismissed 3 months of work with one sentence. Not what we had in mind. They didn't talk strategy. Not first. Ngozi made tea that tasted like childhood and dragged a duvet to the floor. They sat there and let silence be soft instead of sharp. On a Sunday, they walked to Obingo Market for vegetables and gossip. They came home laughing at nothing. Kamsi cooked rice too soft and they ate it anyway. "See you?" Ngozi said, tapping her fork against the plate. "You will cook for your own children and become your mother without warning." "I will cook better," Kamsi teased. "We will see." A month later, the hospital organized a family day on the pediatric ward. Ngozi invited Kamsi to sketch portraits for the kids. One boy with a superhero plaster on his arm asked, "Are you two sisters?" Ngozi laughed like she hadn't in a while. "No, she is the part of me that learned to draw. And she is the part of me that learned to stay," Kamsi added. They went home with glitter on their arms and someone's sticker on their cheeks, and a feeling that tasted like mango. Messy, sweet, unapologetic. That night, rain returned. Not the angry kind, the kind that makes you want to light a candle for the joy of it. Kamsi took the old wristband from the drawer and held it up between her finger and thumb. "What should we do with this?" she asked. Ngozi reached out. "Give it here." She cut it into 2 neat halves and laid them side by side. She said, "Keep a piece, not to remember the lie, but to remember the language we no longer need." They pressed the halves in the back of the sketchbook, between a drawing of a crowded ward and a drawing of a kitchen table. Evidence, not of a crime, but of a turning. Before bed, Kamsi sent a voice note. "Today, I was proud of you for leaving the ward to find me. And today, I was proud of me for not turning my need into drama. I love you." Ngozi replied, "Today, I was proud of us for admitting we were both lonely. Tomorrow, let's buy plantain." The house exhaled. Outside, Lagos kept making noise the way Lagos always does. Inside, 2 women kept their map the way love sometimes learns to. Quietly, daily, without miracles, without applause. For children, of any age, don't set traps for the people you love. Say what you need with your mouth, not with a performance. A lie might bring someone to your door, but it can't teach them how to stay. For parents, of any age, your time is medicine. 10 honest minutes can do what 1,000 "I'm busy" can't. Listen when your child whispers so they never feel they must scream. Be careful with the tests you set for love. Sometimes, the person who fails is the one who wrote the exam.